once you got out of the sport, how big of an adjustment was it for you personally? Deep down inside, how much of an adjustment was it for you personally? Because I know what it was like for me when I got out of the sport, and it was tough.
When I'm done adjusting, I'll answer that question
Okay.
because I ain't yet. Me and my wife, we started over. At the time, we had been married for, so that was '06. So we had been married for 7 years. We were together 5 prior to getting married.
Yeah.
We started all the way over
Yeah.
because she'd been running the house while I was gone,
Right. Yeah.
and I've been out making money, and I've been running everything where I was, and so we had to refine our boundaries. Personally, I've been lost ever since. I would trade nothing for. I might have missed one baseball game. My son started playing when he was 5. He's 13. I probably only missed one soccer game. My other son. He started when he was 5 and he's 11. My daughter, I'm almost every gymnastics competition. I didn't miss any of that stuff. I got to see her win for the first time. Got to see my son's home run first time. My other son's goal. You couldn't give me a bag of money to trade that out of me. There's no price. And a lot of those guys never saw that. Jimmy Finning, he's one of the guys that helped coach me through that time when I was struggling. And he missed a lot of his kids, and he kept telling me over and over, "Don't miss it." And but that's who I am. I'm a dad first,
Yeah.
and a husband, and a Christian. But that's what I did. This other stuff, I'm just doing it so I can be with my kids. That is still what I do. I probably never get to do it again, but I've never found peace since I walked away.
I'm going to tell you a story.
All right.
And I don't know that this will be on the show or whatever. This is Rick and Mike talking. I struggled big time. I mean, I went to work for NASCAR. I was going to be the PR person for the Busch Series, and they doubled my salary. And I was never comfortable in that position. My first reaction when I was let go was to thank the guy.
Yeah.
My second reaction was to go over the table at the guy who was sitting next to the guy who let me go, because he was not a good guy. He was your guy, going back and forth, tattling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I struggled. And I thought I was the most important person in the Busch Series. I thought the Busch Series revolved around me, and they raced the next weekend, and that was a shock. I'm ashamed to tell you how big a shock that was.
No, you shouldn't be.
I taught high school for a year and a half, so I went from going to Daytona for a week to coming up with lesson plans for 10th grade English. It took me about 2 weeks to figure out that I really missed journalism. And I had a chance to go back to work for NASCAR. I had a chance to get back into the sport. I think actually when you and I got back in touch, probably 2006, 2007, 8, somewhere in there. And I was doing a lot of freelance for NASCAR.com, and they had a gig come up full time. I'd be back on the road doing what I'd been doing and everything, and it went to somebody else. And I'll tell you when we stopped recording how it went down, but I got so frustrated after that happened, and there I was. I had traveled the circuit. I had literally traveled the world. I'd gone to the first exhibition race in Japan, and there I was, basically without a job. I taught 3 semesters and figured I'd better get out before I dropped dead of a heart attack. And so I went full-time freelance in June of 2006. In 2007, 8, somewhere in there is when I was doing a lot of stuff for NASCAR.com. And the full-time gig that I had chased went to somebody else. And Michael, I got so frustrated that I made the mistake of saying in front of my wife and kids, I said, I used to be somebody. And that was deep. That came from a deep, dark place. And one of my wife and I have twin boys, and they were, that was 07, 08. They were 7, they were 6 or 7. So they were still pretty young. But one of those boys heard me say that at 6 or 7. And he crawled up in my lap and he hugged me tight. Now, I'm not talking about a one-arm man hug. I'm talking about he hugged my neck. And he looked at me and he said, "You are somebody. You're my daddy."
That's pretty good, isn't it?
And it was just like that my entire perspective changed. And in that moment, it became okay for me not to work for Winston Cup scene. It became okay for me not to work in NASCAR anymore. In that moment, that's when I became Adam and Jesse's daddy. And I became Jeannie's husband.
I think especially for me, when I say that that's what I am, what I mean by that is I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
And I don't think the world I competed in I don't think it ever exists again. But I'm like you said, man, I'm a pitcher and a goalie and a car driver.
Yeah.
And buying a baseball bat, and I take my youngest to school every day. That's what I do now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it. There's no way, like I said before, you couldn't give me a big enough bag of money to undo any of that. But if I sat here and said I don't wish I could compete again, I'd be lying. I'm a competitor. I've been that way my whole life, and but I probably won't ever get to it again. But I wouldn't undo anything I did throughout the years. I probably stepped on a few toes. Would tell them people I'm sorry, but I don't know what I would have done different.